Well, a blessed equinox to everyone. It's a perfectly balanced moment when the Earth spins around the sun and captures the same amount of darkness and daylight in the 24-hour cycle all over the globe. It's a beautiful, perfect kind of feeling of balance and order that we have at our vernal equinox. So, and I want to point out to you too, I received a message from the people at Humanity's Team. If you're on their email distribution list, that's the resource that was started by Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote those series of books, Conversations with God. And they are joining up with Unity churches and everybody in the New Spirituality movement to observe tomorrow, March 22nd, something called World Water Day. World Water Day. And that was something started by the United Nations about 7 years ago. But they're picking up on it, bringing attention to the need for having clean water available to people everywhere. So I'm going to participate in that. You'll have to look it up, search for it on the internet. I don't have the details. I just noticed it in an email just recently, so I want to bring that to your attention. I think it's a beautiful idea. And there's a lot of other mentions that I want to share with you today. Probably will take more time than my sermon itself. But anyway, yeah, I attended a downtown clergy meeting last week. That is a sort of an informal association of clergy. It includes all faiths. And it's headed up by Alan Alpert, who is the rabbi for our our Jewish congregation here in Muskegon. And I attended the meeting because I wanted to share with them some possibilities that I've been thinking about, and I'll tell you what they are. But I just want to say that before I say it, that I anticipated that, they would say, oh, that's too political. We don't want to do that. We don't do that kind of thing. But I still wanted to say it anyway. And the first thing was, I said, I think it would be a great service to our community because we have so many divisive opinions. If we had a public forum to examine the question of was the election fair, or was there corruption, and run it kind of like a public debate, only not have it be like an adversarial model, but have an equal number of speakers on both sides of the question present their information in a public forum and have an impartial review of the validity of all the information that was presented. And I think this would do a lot to bring us out of so much of the conflict that we're in and misunderstanding. And I thought they would say, oh no, that's too political. We don't want to do that. They all said, Diane, I know just what you're talking about. I'm facing the same thing in my congregation, and I think it would be a great service to the community. And I think we should go with you to the city council meeting and present it to the city council. That's what they said. And I went on to say, but now my most recent imagining or thought is that there could be an association of clergy, much like the Lawyers Association of the ACLU, that brings pressure to bear when people's civil rights are being violated. That could be the Ministers Against Lying in Politics. That could be an association that brings pressure to bear and brings information to bear when there are out and out lies being spoken to the public by political leaders. They like that idea too. they thought that was a great idea. They said, they might even consider joining such an association. So I say the times, they are a changing. So we'll see what develops out of these things. Today I'm talking a lot about evolution of consciousness. And I want to kind of just set the definition of how we talk about evolution in spirituality and even in science. Science's understanding of physiological properties is constantly changing now. And it's hard to keep up with what's old and what's new, what's true and what's not. So I just ask you to keep an open mind about the idea of evolution, because progressive science investigation are not trying to negate evolution, but they're trying to add to what we understand about it. And it's not easy. It's not easy to, I'll have more about that in my talk, but just want to point out that science's understanding of physiological properties as they are observed in evolution of species, and especially human beings, is constantly changing. And to that end, I just say everyone needs to be watching YouTube, the free videos on YouTube, and especially those ones that are about consciousness exploration, understanding the phenomenon of consciousness. And I want to draw to your attention the name Greg Braden. Greg Braden is a geologist who's done extensive research all over the world. And he's entered this whole New Age, New Thought movement of spirituality and published books with Hay House. He comes from the Unity family. He actually was born on a farm that was adjacent to Unity Village. And so he's always had that Unity influence on his perspective. And now he's become a world-renowned authority on just the most innovative and recent information that comes available in the world of science, archaeology, geology, anthropology, all those things. I just love to hear him talk. He recounts in this video called Two Friends Talking. I should send the link to everyone. It's a video that it was shown to me by the Miracles Group. And it's Greg Braden talking with Joe Dispenza at a conference on consciousness evolution. Did I say conference? Yeah, conference on consciousness evolution. And he tells about a conversation that he had with a professor, where he said to the professor, why aren't you teaching these new discoveries in science about anthropological evolution? And the teacher says, well, because, it's too expensive to change all the textbooks. And then Greg Braden says something like, well, no, textbooks are becoming obsolete anyway. We're using e-books. We're using, we're using, electronic material, and it can be changed so easily with just a touch of a button. That's what they do at NASA. And he says, yeah, but if I taught something different than what I've always taught, it would negate my whole career. Braden says, no, it would show that you are a modern scientist. Science is something that's always seeking new information. The teacher says, something like, I can't change my notes. All the notes that I've used over all these years, it would take too long. It would be too arduous to change my notes. At that point, Greg gave up. But that is some of the things that we're up against in getting new information and shifting paradigms. And as Joe Dispenza points out too, all of the models, or you might call paradigms, of different institutions in society are just collapsing. And that creates sometimes a state of fear, and out of fear, we try to recreate the past. So we want to try to not be in fear and be open to new futures, which is kind of what my talk is all about today. And then this talk title today, called The Onward March, came to me out of the song lyrics of a song we used to sing when I was in Sunday school as a child at Unity. And it was written by, Carl Frankheiser and Francis J. Gable, which who teamed up and wrote a lot of songs for Unity in the 30s and 40s. And Frankheiser had been the music director for Barnum and Bailey Circus, so he was really good at writing marches. And this is a march. And we used to sing it. And I just want to tell you a little bit of a story. My mother went out to what was called Unity Farm then. She had been working as a secretary and reading Unity literature. And she came across in the literature that they were having what they called a training school for 4 weeks. And she took her 2-week vacation to attend it. And, I know she figured, well, I'm smart. 2 weeks will be enough for me. Well, long story short, she never went back home. She stayed 10 years at Unity Farm, took all their classes, and ended up becoming a Unity minister at the age of 30 or so. And while she was there, she was an integral part of the work. For one thing, she was a crackerjack piano player. She could sight read flawlessly. And she would play accompaniment to many of their gatherings, especially joy songs, because she played at a peppy tempo. And when we had our church in Washington, where she was the minister there from 1948 to 1968, she arranged the schedule of the morning. We used to set up our service in the piano concert hall of the YWCA in Washington, D.C. We'd come in and pass out the hymnals, set up the Sunday school tables, set up the library table, blah, blah, blah. And she had the schedule set so that she would come up to the Sunday school gathering at 10:30 and play the songs for us, play the accompaniment. And then she'd go down and do her service at 11. And so this was one song that always just thrilled me because all of the words in it rang true. Now, I'm going to attempt to sing it at our 11 o'clock gathering. I'm not going to sing here because a singing without accompaniment is just kind of bad. But I'm going to tell you what the words are so you can see how I derived my talk from the energy in this song. First of all, it talks about the Father, loving Father, and the Father's word, and this, that. Well, at that time in Unity, they did use the Father, which is patriarchal, to designate divine mind or the unifying principle, divinity, whatever you want to call it. That's what Jesus called it the Father. So that's in here. So when you hear the Father, just hear the organizing principle of the universe of divine mind. Okay, if that bothers you. Also, it was patriarchal language time, and the lyric goes, in the onward march of the sons of God. Well, I'm changing that to children of God, even though the rhythm doesn't accommodate that, but I don't want to be too gender preferential here. But, and when you hear the word Sunday school, just think of it as our whole work here. We are a center of spiritual education. So I'll just do the first verse. It goes, we are loyal to our Sunday school. Our best efforts we are giving. As we think aright, God's pure holy light beams in our daily living. In the onward march of the children of God, we are always in the van. And he used the word van to mean caravan, not a van of a vehicle, but a caravan of moving figures. Okay. In the onward march of the children of God, we are always in the van. We are proud and glad that we have a part in the loving Father's plan. As we read his word, as we learn his will, as we keep the golden rule. We are marching all at the Master's call, and we love our Sunday school. Now, if you want to hear what the melody is to that, then you'll have to tune in to the video when it gets edited and uploaded for this same topic, the Onward March. I'm sure you can wait for that. Okay. So let's get on with it now. So this is the Onward March. Have you ever been in a marching band? How about a parade? Well, you are now. Whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, we are in an evolutionary moment of extreme forward movement. And it's especially vibrant during this corridor of days leading up to Easter. Have you found yourself pondering the life of Jesus in this Lenten season in the past days or weeks? You know, the winds are stirring, and the temperature is widely fluctuating, and the skies open and are glorious blue, and then they close back up to winter darkness. I've been thinking and wondering. I've watched a few videos about the life of Jesus. Very interesting. Biography of Jesus. Various versions that they have, and it's interesting to see the perspective that's given a so-called impartial documentarian. You know, they studiously avoid talking about the resurrection, just that Jesus stirred up trouble, got crucified, and afterwards his followers reported seeing him and formed and became a movement. You know. And then I looked him up on Wikipedia. Would you know, Wikipedia has the best comparison of all the different accounts at the same time, so that you can sort out, well, here's one perspective on it of the same experience, the same element in the gospel narratives. And that's always been so confusing to me, to try to understand which gospel said which and how they differ and everything. It's all there set out plainly in the Wikipedia article on Jesus. I'll tell you, it was really good. And then I looked him up on Notable Name Database, would you believe? Have you ever looked anybody up on Notable Name Database, NNDB? And he's there, and he's given they give the mother and father of the person that they're in the article, and so under father it has details are in dispute. Okay. But all that has led me to do more reflecting on scripture too. So as time grew near to the moment when Jesus would enter Jerusalem and stir up trouble, you know, he was in an onward march toward a kind of triumph that has remained unsurpassed. He and his disciples, although they were not part of the triumph, they were in this accelerating onward march. Sometimes you can feel something like a whirlwind or even a vacuum that pulls you forward, compelling you to see new futures, whispering to you of greater healing, greater wholeness for all of humanity and you. This is what evolution feels like. You are in an onward march toward greater good. It parallels the quickening, the hastening of Jesus's approach, his accelerating approach to his final demonstration. In countless ways, we are emerging into a new consciousness, and we are doing it together. We are recognizing one another's righteousness and heroism. Like I was mentioning before, look at Greta Thunberg, so heroic. And my daughter Becky is always putting on her Facebook page, and Facebook is a great instrument for bringing to attention to the heroism and righteousness that people are out to create. And she's always putting stuff on her Facebook page about how bringing to bear pressure on oil companies that refuse to clean up their oil spills, and persecution of Asian peoples, and the injustice there, and the real meaning of the Black Lives Matter movement. All these things indicate a quickening and a transformative influence that's at work in the minds and hearts of people. We are forgiving past hurts and misunderstandings and finding our way forward to a more solid ground in the light of love. Next Sunday is Palm Sunday with its own unique message and meaning. But today we are in the time of foreshadowing. Do you wonder about it all? I mean, I don't have answers today. I have questions. Why did he do it? How did he do it? How did he prepare for it? So many imponderables. You know, he had such highly developed powers. He knew the past, like when he talked to the woman at the well. He knew her whole past life to the point where she was convinced that he was the Messiah. He knew people's thoughts. He knew what the scribes and the Pharisees were thinking about him. He knew that Judas betrayed him. He knew that Peter would deny him. He could transform matter. He could take a person's physical body and change it. Change something that was congenitally flawed to perfection. He turned water to wine, walked on the water. I think that was a levitation, which is still changing matter. Feeding 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He could transform matter. And then purify personalities. He cast demons out, what we would today call personality disorders. Cured an epileptic. Cured a demoniac. All those evil spirits entered the pigs, and they ran over the cliff. And then he got in trouble for the loss of the herd of pigs. But yeah, he could purify personalities. Told us we could do all this just like him. Told us we could do the same. All of these things. And it looks to me like he was orchestrating the whole drama from the time when he first started publicly speaking. This was the Onward March that I speak of today. Why would he so vehemently antagonize the scribes and Pharisees and berate them? Why would he press on, going from place to place, always preparing his disciples for how to continue after he was gone, preparing them for his departure? And why so soon? You know, couldn't he have at least stayed around long enough to write a book or something? But our onward march is to stay strong in our commitment to love. I want to say that again. Our onward march is to stay strong in our commitment to love. Stay strong in our commitment to compassion for all humanity, while at the same time keeping the aliveness of change. while at the same time keeping the continual process of transformation going on, while at the same time allowing consciousness to evolve in us as we emerge in the onward march of a new being, eternal, perfect, whole, and free. Now let's just take a moment to experience something within together. So just take some cleansing breaths. Allow your mind and body to be free, disconnected from the present moment, so that you can be in pure awareness with an open heart, in coherence with all the good that God is, in trust with the will of the divine, in peace with the order of the universe. So that we may remember the infinite power of absolute love that is ours. And we do drink deeply of the eternal, infinite waters of spirit, now and always. So it is. Amen. Well, I look forward to everything. There is such good that is being created moment by moment by all of us in this together, on this wonderful journey to evolve into a world of compassion, a world of mutual responsibility, a world of beauty. Thanks for being with us. See you soon. Love you all.